Good Motivational Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I am Chase Corrington, and this is the Chase Corrington YouTube channel, where we seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, where we seek to discover the hidden mysteries of our reality and the hidden wisdom of the ages, ladies and gentlemen. And today I want to talk about what I think may be one of the most important things that we can do in life. And that is to come to really know yourself. And I think it's not as easy to do as it is to say. It's easy to say, yeah, you got to figure out who you are and, follow that. And it's easy to say it. But really putting in the effort to come to know yourself, to understand who you really are. And one of the hardest parts about it for me has been being honest with myself. Because there's a lot of times you want to lie to yourself. Like if you're judging yourself, and I like to talk about non-judgment. But just as it is with everything else in the world, there is a balance of both good and bad. The yin and the yang is the best symbol or way to symbolize how there must be a balance of opposites to create a whole. And so, being honest with yourself about your shortcomings without judging it. Depending on your definition of judgment, that could differ what that means very much. But going all in on your strengths is something that can be very powerful for getting to know yourself or developing your self-awareness. Because I think if we can really know ourselves, then we can begin to develop the understanding or respect for other people and where they may be in their situations. It's so fascinating that we can go through life not ever really trying to find out who we are. I went through all of my life, which hasn't been very long. I've been reminded in the past couple days multiple times that I'm still a kid. So thank you for that. But it's like I've come to this point in my life to where I seen up until a year or so ago, I had never thought twice about who I really was. Most people go through life believing that there is no purpose, that they have no purpose, that it's just random circumstance and they just happen to be here and we're trying to get by. That's pathetic to me. Like, if you believe that, I don't know if I have advice. What would be my advice to somebody who believes there is no purpose? My advice would be to ask the question, how is that working for you? How happy are you with that? Believing you have no purpose and you're just trying to get by. Does that really make you feel good? I don't think it's a lie, but to feel better for happiness, is it worth lying to yourself? That's the question of the day. Leave that in the comments below and let me know what you think. Is it worth lying to yourself to avoid unhappiness, sadness, and depression if that lying to yourself doesn't create unhappiness and depression in the long term? If you see where I'm going with that. Happiness is just, it's the ultimate paradox. I'm fascinated with paradoxes in how it goes right back to the yin and the yang, and how things can be one way and yet the exact opposite way at the same time. It's like happiness may very well come from unhappiness. So not judging yourself for where you are, but not lying to yourself either about where you are. See, like, I'm going to present the opposite idea of what I just said before, the lying to yourself to make yourself feel better. What about the opposite of that, to where, this self-awareness thing, like not lying to yourself about your faults in order to avoid wasted energy, or not lying to yourself about what you want to be good at. And this goes counter to what I usually talk about, because I like to say that you can do anything. But I love the example that Gary Vee gives. It's like, certain people can play basketball and practice their entire lives as much as they want, but they just don't have the natural ability as a LeBron James, or whoever it may be, a Steph Curry or the MJ of old. But you know what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? It's like we have to really become internal analyzers without beating ourselves up about it. I'm liking that paradox question. Do you lie to yourself to make yourself feel better, but then at the exact same time, don't lie to yourself to hide from yourself your true nature? My mind's like, you're saying the exact opposite things. You're like, don't do bad things, but do bad things. And don't do good things, but always do good things. It's like the old, master, how do I help myself? And the master says, well, in order to help yourself, you must help other people. And so the student goes out and helps a whole bunch of other people. And he goes, Master, I'm not sure really how to help other people. And the master says, in order to help other people, you must help yourself. And so it's this paradox. It's like both are true at the same time, but not independent of each other. So we can't lie to ourselves to hide from ourselves who we really are, our true nature, because without discovering that, we'll never know what we're really supposed to do, coming back to purpose. While at the same time, I would argue with myself that it's not the worst thing ever to lie to yourself to avoid deep, dark sadness and depression. I think that I don't know, there's a fine balance. Maybe avoiding the sadness and the depression and stuff is okay in the short term, but long term, we will have to eventually face, our dark side. You have to go through the dark night of the soul to really come out to the light. It's hard to say, but I would say the most important thing for me has been discovering who I really am and continuing to ask the question. That may be the real key. Continuing to ask, okay, why am I driven in this direction personally? What influences me and what do I choose to allow to influence me? And how do I influence myself? And, all these questions that you got to ask yourself to really figure out who you are. But it's been so important to making happiness the way, because that's another thing that fascinates me, is that there is no way to happiness, because happiness is the way. So you don't go out in the world and achieve happiness. Rather, you bring happiness to what it is you do in the world. We just have created a system in society to where we have categorized things related to happiness. But something that's so amazing is how there can be people that have all the external and physical things and can still be miserable. And then people in third world, the happiness level in poverty-ridden countries, I've heard, I can't prove, but it seems reasonable that these people with so little seem to bring happiness to more of their life by choice. They seem to make happiness the way rather than making judgment of their situation and unhappiness the way. I'm going to leave it at that. I think the most important thing, one of the most important things when going towards happiness and making happiness the way, I have to constantly correct myself on that one, is this self-awareness or this self-discovery, self-mastery. That's why I'm so into personal development. I want to hear your opinion, if you've watched this far, in the comments about the debate between lying to yourself to avoid misery or not ever lying to yourself despite how much misery it may cause. Because I think there is unique circumstantial, situations where it may be better to avoid the hurt. I think it depends how serious it is. I think if you're making up BS that's hurting you internally, then you can kind of like convince, even though it's not technically a lie, because the BS you're making up isn't a truth, but the BS in your head comes up so often that it's become a truth to you. And so at first, to get rid of that false truth, you have to quote unquote, lie to yourself to get rid of what is really the lie underlying that. Maybe that's a better way to explain it. But be honest with yourselves on the whole so that you can find out who you really are and not judge where you are, because we have to be where we've been to be where we are, and we have to be where we are to be where we will be. I love to say that you wouldn't have the thoughts of judging where you are without having been where you've been. So if you think things are shitty, you wouldn't think things are shitty without, like, it's a paradox. It's so hard to explain. I guess I wasn't going to leave it with that point. We're continuing. It's so hard to explain. Like, you can't be judging your situation in your past. You can't be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, without that happening. And someone would say, yeah, exactly. I would have rather done something else and not be judging it now. But I would argue that the growth that comes from judging something in your past may be necessary. Damn it! Then that makes judgment necessary. Holy cow, we got some paradoxes going on, ladies and gentlemen. Because I'm personally all against judgment. Maybe there's good and bad judgment. That's a whole other topic. Holy cow. All right, I'm going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. If you get value, consider subscribing. Smash the like. I just enjoy saying that, even though it's ridiculous. Hit the like button. Touch the like button. Whatever you want to do. If you want to support me, like this video. And let me know what you think. Sometimes it helps to play devil's advocate with yourself. And just a side note, no, we're not going to go there. Google the original meaning of devil's advocate. Very fascinating, that is. But, question yourself. Present the alternative. Like, if I'm going to say, judgment is the worst thing and we need to not judge, I should also be able to hold the thought that judgment is the best thing and we need to judge. Isn't it crazy that both are possibly true at the same time? It's a matter of perspective. And that self-awareness work, that self-discovery work, coming to know who you really are, I think that's where it really becomes effective. I appreciate everybody who watches these videos. I'll be back in the future with more interesting topics to throw your way.